So I actually work at Novartis. I lead a $100 million investment fund investing in digital health companies.
Got you.
How about you?
So I work for a company called Cambridge Cognition. We are quite an old but growing digital neurotech company.
That's actually really interesting that you work on kind of the neurotech side. So at Novartis we have an entire neuroscience division.
Of course.
And we're really actually interested in kind of some of the things you guys are working on in like cognitive behavioral therapy. And so one thing that's interesting, so we've invested in companies like Pear Therapeutics.
Sure.
We've looked at Achille and a lot of these cognitive behavioral therapy companies. And really what we would call digital therapeutics as a whole.
Yeah.
I'd just be interested to see, like, what do you think about kind of digital therapeutics and the direction that's going and kind of the work you're doing?
I think it's the future.
Yeah.
If I were Novartis, that's where I'd be investing. Yeah, so I think companies like Achille are really interesting. Achille in particular, actually, because they're the first people that have really gone about this in a systematic way, right? So we've seen their data for ADHD. It looks fantastic. And so our assessments look a bit like old school video games. I guess Achilles looked like fantastic live action video games. Our assessments were developed in the 80s, so they look more like Tetris, if you see what I mean. But of course, if you were starting from scratch trying to measure behavior in young people right now, almost everything you want to measure would be available in a video game. So right. I think Achille are the first people that have really gone after that.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I'm seeing just like in terms of the industry and trends is just the concept of digital phenotyping.
Yeah.
Right. And so moving away from, finding ways to use passive measures to like really understand like your kind of neurostate. And that's an area that the first time I actually heard that term digital phenotyping was yesterday here at the conference. And so it was actually a really interesting term, and I'd just be interested to see like what you think about that. I mean, my thoughts on that is that I think getting people to actively respond about their own cognitive well-being and cognitive health, I think is going to be challenging. And I'm a little bit skeptical on. I think there's going to be early adopters, people that are interested in reporting kind of how they're feeling and things like that. Yeah. But as passive as we can make it to create this digital phenotyping, in my view, I think that's going to be really important to help kind of at a mass scale identify the cognitive state of kind of the population as a whole, in terms of, So.
I think you need to go at it from both ends, right? You need to understand what is normal behavior in order to be able to detect any deviation from that. I think things like Verily's Project Baseline, they're going to be doing a really great job of understanding what is the variation that's out there in the general population. Digital phenotyping, I think, is... I'm amused that you've never heard it before. I think about it all the time. But I think it's so relevant for brain health because we don't have the other kinds of... We don't have assays like, we don't do blood panels for brain health. We can't do 23andMe kind of...
Yeah, you can't take a blood test and be like,
exactly,
this is how you're doing it. Yeah.
But all the time that we are interacting with people as well, but interacting with our devices, there's this digital fingerprint that's being laid down about everything from how you type, there are startups interested in this kind of thing, through to every interaction that you're having. I think when you think about companies like Verily, they have, because of the power of Google, they have the ability to collect really huge data sets. What they don't have is the ability to bring that back to what it actually means to the individual. You can learn some things from really large uncontrolled experiments, you can learn different things from really small controlled experiments. So I think we kind of need to go at it both ways to be able to pick those things apart. Not everything that goes on in your brain is detectable in your phone, Luckily.
Luckily.